What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So, today's video, I wanted to talk about a guitar brand that you might have kind of seen. I know, like, I've seen it the past couple of weeks for some reason. It's just, like, popping up all over my YouTube feed. And that guitar brand is Fesley. I'm guessing that's how it's pronounced. That's how I've heard other YouTubers pronounce it. So, I'm going to go with Fesley. Just a disclaimer, I bought this guitar, like I paid my own money for it. They didn't send it to me. I know that's kind of like a thing right now. They in particular have been sending out like a bunch of guitars to YouTubers and stuff. They did not send me this. I bought it. And so this is totally like unbiased because I bought this with my own money. So that's out of the way. Cool. So Fesley guitars, what's the deal with this? This is a guitar brand that sells their guitars on Amazon. So that was kind of the first like thing I saw. And like immediately I was skeptical. I was like, okay, Amazon guitar brand, right? And they're like super budget guitars. I paid, with shipping and everything, I think I paid like $170 for this guitar. They were running like a little bit of a deal. I think normally they're like $180. This one was like 10% off or something. Whatever. They were running some kind of deal. I got it for a little cheaper than that. But, like, normally like $180 brand new. Right? So, you guys know me. I don't really have a lot of stuff like this around. I don't have a lot of like lower end, beginner level guitars around. I just don't. But I really liked the way this looked. I love the finish. I love the body style, of course. And I thought, for $180, like, I'll try it out. Why not, right? So, I ordered it. And I want to kind of run down my experience with it and, the pros and the cons of a guitar like this, right? So, first, let's get into what all this came with. So it came with the guitar, as you can see. And this is a flat top guitar. Right? Like, it's not arched or anything. It's like totally flat on the top, which is fine. It's a bolt-on neck, which again, for a $180 guitar, totally fine. And it came with some pretty neat stuff. So it came with this gig bag, which, it's nothing to write home about, but, like, if you're a kid or a beginner, and you just need something to carry your guitar around in, this works. It's a gig bag, And it came in a box, which I thought was cool. Sometimes with these brands, you'll get them, like, the gig bag will be in the box and the guitar will be on top of it. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense at all. But I've seen that before. So this actually came in this bag, so it was like decently protected, inside of a box with some other stuff. There's no like neck rest or anything in this, it's just in there. But I thought it did come with some other pretty neat stuff. So now, to be fair, I already opened some of this stuff because I just wanted to check it out. But it comes with an instruction manual, which you might think, why do I need an instruction manual for a guitar? But I mean, if you're a beginner, right, you might not know what some of these parts and stuff are and what they do. So it's good to have that, right? Like, they know what the audience for this guitar is. I like that. It comes with a strap. So let's check the strap out. I haven't looked at this yet. The strap material is fine. It's just like that, kind of seatbelt material. I don't like the ends. These kind of ends always suck. Like, you have a hard time getting them around the strap buttons and stuff. But, again, it's a strap. It'll work. It's adjustable. There you go. Nothing to write home about, but it's a strap. Now, this is actually what I thought was the cooler thing. So once you get in this like little like MRE looking bag thing that they send you, right? You get a couple of things in here. you get a truss rod Allen wrench, which I think is neat because while you might be a beginner and you might not be tackling this right out the gate, it's good to have because eventually one day you will want to adjust your own truss rod, and here you go, you can. But I think the coolest thing about this was a lot of these beginner guitar pack type deals, they come with like those really bad junky guitar cables, you know, that are like all plastic with like the molded ends and stuff, right? So this Fesley instrument cable is actually pretty good. I mean, it's not a Mogami cable or a Monster cable or anything like that, right? Like, you know, I probably wouldn't go on tour with it, but in a pinch, I mean, look, it's got the nice branding on it. It actually has like a metal, you know, end, and the end is, you know, shrink tubed and stuff. Like, it's not a bad cable. For a beginner guitar, this is a really nice cable. And you got a right angle one on the other end, which might not seem like a big thing, but on like LP style guitars, where the jack is down here on the bottom, I love having a right angle cable because that, you know, it's not sticking out when it's sitting on your leg. Like, you can play, like, I love having a right angle cable for, you know, for my guitars. Like, that's what I use live, is a right angle cable. So that's cool. And again, it also has, you know, it's also shrink tubed and has the, you know, you can get in there and stuff. Like, this is a good cable. So you get some neat stuff with it. But let's get back to the guitar. So I am going to read off some specs about this guitar. I didn't want to misrepresent anything, so I got my iPad here, and we're going to read the specs off real quick, right? So it says mahogany headstock, mahogany neck, mahogany, like, yeah, the neck is mahogany. Okay, cool. And I mean, you can see it, it's mahogany. Like, so that's nice. It has a, like, typical, like, Les Paul scale. It's 24.75 inches, which I like. That's great. It has a Techwood fingerboard, which I've never heard of. And a poplar body. So, and then it says it has some HH pickups. I don't know what that means. I guess humbucker pickups, right? Fesley calls them the Fesley HH pickups. They have like no specifications about the pickups. I looked everywhere on their website, like, and this isn't Amazon. This is actually the Fesley website. And I looked everywhere for information about the pickups. Couldn't find anything. But they don't sound bad, as you will see in the demo that's coming up. I think they sound pretty good, especially for what they are. The neat thing about this one is that it has like the LTD, ESP, EC layout, right? So this is your neck volume, this is your bridge volume, and this is a master tone. So that's cool. I mean, as you can see, this is very clearly like an EC kind of, you know, body style, right? You got your standard three-way toggle. Three-way toggle feels good. I don't know what kind of toggle switch it is. I don't know if it's like a name brand toggle or anything like that. I would doubt that. I also don't know what kind of pots are in here, and I would like to. So I might fast forward through a little bit of this to get you there, but I'm gonna pop the back plate off of this so we can look at these pots. Give me a second. Let's do it. Okay, so as I suspected, this has those tiny little bitty, you know, like dime size pots in it. They're labeled CF. Don't know what that means. Wiring looks fine. You know, again, It's nothing to write home about, but it works. You know, the guitar works. So I'm not going to bother with the switch because being that these are the dime size pots, I'm sure this is just some kind of like whatever switch, right? But yeah, I mean, I measured the pickup outputs the other day when I was recording the demo, and they were like 9.5. The neck pickup was like 9.5-ish. This one was like closer to 10. So they're like not super low output, but not super high output either. Like, you know, beginner guitar, they played it safe. They're like kind of hot, not really. But well, I feel like the bridge pickup especially had a lot of clarity, a lot of note definition. I was really surprised. I didn't really do anything on the demo with the neck pickup. I don't play neck pickups a whole lot anyway. I kind of played around with it, cleaned some. It sounded fine, you know. Again, for what it is, it sounded really good. I do kind of dig this look. These are not active, okay? These are passive pickups. But they, you know, they have that kind of like EMG look to them, and they say Fesley on them. One of the criticisms I saw a lot of people kind of talking about with these guitars was the branding is like everywhere. You know, Fesley here, Fesley there, which like here I get. Here, I can almost kind of like, okay, on the pickups, okay, whatever, you know. But it also has Fesley on the back of the tuning machines, which, you know, hey, they're a new brand. They want you to know who they are. It didn't really bother me as much as some other people were kind of going on about, right? Speaking of the tuning keys, they say they're 18-1. You know, they feel fine. They're just like they're branded tuners or whatever. The thing I was kind of surprised about with this was the neck is pretty thick. Like, it's a lot thicker than I expected it to be. And it has this like open pore, like raw finish kind of thing, which I actually really dug. I was like, this feels really nice. There's no sharp fret ends or anything. Like, the fretwork's really good too. You know, it's a little scratchy, but the frets look nice. The ends are, like I said, super nice. And I like these inlays too. These little like circular, you know, they're not just a dot. I just felt like everything on the guitar was very thought out. Nothing seemed to kind of just like thrown on there. And for a guitar that costs $180, you know, I think that speaks a lot about the company. He said this felt like a very thought out kind of guitar. Something that as a beginner was attainable, but that like you would be like proud to play this. You wouldn't be like, oh yeah, you know, my guitar. You'd be like, dude, look at my guitar. Like, I don't know. I felt like this was a much nicer, cooler, well-built guitar than like anything I owned when I was a beginner, you know. So that's kind of how I felt about it. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, there's two more things I wanted to bring up. First thing was, I'd watched some other YouTube videos about this where YouTubers had complained that these guitars had like really tiny, small, thin, like vintage style frets on them. It kind of made them a little wacky to play. But those videos were like, you know, from like 4 or 5 months ago per se. So I just got this like a week ago, and I can say that these are like jumbo frets, and they feel great. They're like, you know, wide, and they feel nice. So I had seen some videos where other YouTubers had kind of talked about that, and where Fesley had addressed it and said they were going to start doing this and putting the more like modern jumbo style frets on them. So if you get a new one, they got bigger frets. So there's that. The only kind of like, so far no cons, all pros from me so far. And this next thing, I don't think even really is a con per se because it wasn't an issue. But I'm just bringing it up because that's what we do here, right? This guitar is like totally flat, okay? And when you have guitars that are totally flat, you know, like Strats or Tellys or whatever they are, they have totally flat bridges on them, okay? Gibsons have angled necks. And that's why they use tunematic bridges, because a tunematic bridge lifts the strings up off of the body of the guitar to match the neck angle, like Gibson and like ESP puts in like, you know, regular ECs and stuff like that, right? So that's why they use tunematic bridges. There is a little bit of a neck angle. So that, you know, again, like I said, everything was thought out. They did think it out. So there, I don't know if this will translate on camera, but you can see that this is not entirely level here. The neck is pitched in the neck pocket like this, just a little bit. There's just enough of an angle to make the tunematic bridge work. There's just enough of an angle. When I got the guitar, the strings were kind of high. You know, now down here, the action was fine, but from about here up, it started to get kind of high. So I almost have the bridge decked. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I almost had to deck the bridge. I didn't have to quite deck it. There's a little bit more room to adjust, but it's pretty close. So, you know, again, I'm not going to dig into that too hard because this is a $180 guitar. And it was perfectly adjustable. And I got it where I needed to get it. And I got the action really low. And it plays great. And I didn't have to adjust the truss rod at all. The neck is super straight. The fretboard is nice and, you know, has no sharp fret ends or anything like that. So I'm not going to gripe on that too hard. But it is one thing I did want to bring up that I hadn't seen anyone else talk about. Was that I had to adjust this bridge down pretty low to get the action where I like it to be. And it's almost decked to the top of the guitar. But other than that, for $180, I'm super pleased with this guitar. I think this is by far the best sub $200 guitar I've ever played. And I think this thing totally goes toe-to-toe with some guitars that do cost, you know, let's say maybe twice as much. Like, this would compete with a lot of $400 guitars. And I don't mean just compete. I mean, like, yeah, smoke them. This is a really good guitar. To kind of just wrap up this whole thing, the reason I bought this is because I had already been thinking about making a video about what I was going to call off-brand guitars. Right, because you keep seeing a bunch of these things pop up, right? And maybe they're not considered off-brand now, but I feel like a few years ago, for me, like Harley Benton was kind of like the forefront of this like really kind of like entry-level off-brand type of guitar market. And then you started to see all this other stuff pop up, like Firefly, and I don't even know all the brands. There's so many brands on Amazon now. Right, that Grote, that's another brand, and now like Fesley, and there's this whole kind of explosion of like direct to sales, online, like Amazon type guitar brands that are coming out, right? And a lot of these guitars are booty, and that was going to kind of be the video I was thinking about making. Was like, the premise of that video was going to be don't buy off-brand guitars. Like, just save up and buy a Squier or an Epiphone or like a low-end Schecter or something like that. Right? That was going to be the synopsis of that video. And then I started watching videos about this thing and seeing other people talk about it. So I was like, you know what? I'll give it a try. And it's totally blown me away. Completely changed my entire opinion about what I was going to say in that video I was going to make about off-brand guitars, right? I would still caution you, if you are a first-time guitar buyer, or if you're buying for, you know, your kid, or, you know, one of your friends' kids, or a niece or a nephew, or, you know, whatever, right? Or even if you're just buying for yourself, but you're a little older and you don't know anything about guitars, right? I would caution you. And that's why I think YouTube is so great. Because you can watch videos like mine or like these other people's videos. You know, you can just get on YouTube and type in Fesley and just watch all the videos about it. And you can see a whole swath of opinions. And I think that's great. Because this was a diamond in the rough, I think. Not this guitar specifically, this brand. This brand, I think, is kind of a diamond in the rough. Because a lot of these kind of like Amazon low-end guitar brands, a lot of them suck. They do. And you're going to spend a little money on them, and the action's going to be real high. You're not going to be able to adjust them. The pickups are going to suck. It's going to not come with anything worth a crap, right? Like, so a lot of those brands, I don't get behind. I don't think they're worth your money. I think it's better for you to just save up and buy something name brand that might be a little more, but that you have that confidence in, right? But I do not feel that way about this at all. This Fesley guitar is awesome. I mean, it's super awesome. One more thing. I should have brought this up before I went into all that. One more thing. I've seen some videos where people were talking about the bridges of these guitars came on backwards. They're not. They're not backwards. When it comes to pneumatic bridges, there's no specificity to the orientation of the intonation screws. I know that sounds like a lot of big words. These little screws right here that adjust the saddles, sometimes they're facing this way, sometimes they're facing that way. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. So don't get hung up on that. If you see some videos, that's the only reason I bring it up. And I'm not trying to call those YouTubers out and being like they were wrong. Like, a lot of people have experiences with Gibson. Gibson puts them on from the factory most of the time facing toward the neck. Sometimes they don't, but like I would say like 95% of the time on a Gibson guitar, they're going to be facing this way. But on like Japanese guitars, a lot of times they're facing the other way. It just depends, right? There's no right or wrong. It doesn't matter. As long as you can intonate it either way, yeah. The reason why the saddles on tom bridges are shaped the way they are is so that you can cheat a little extra intonation out of them, right? It's like wedge shaped. So if you have it turned it this way, you're going to get more intonation on this end. If you turn it this way, you're going to get more intonation on this end, right? Like, because typically these strings have a hard time, like typically you might have to adjust more in this direction, and then on your low strings, you might have to adjust more in this direction. That's the only reason that they're shaped the way they're shaped and orientated the way they're orientated. That's it. So if the bridge is flipped around the other way, it doesn't matter. If the guitar intonates fine and everything plays the way it should, doesn't matter which way the bridge is facing. So just wanted to throw that in there. But I think these Fesley guitars are great so far. Like I said, this is the only one I've tried, so I don't want to, go like, whatever about it. But this guitar has blown me away. It punches way above its weight class, and I think it sounds great. So I'm going to hit you guys with this demo I did of this guitar, and I didn't do a whole lot. Again, I wanted to keep this pretty honest and transparent. So, like, I used the STL Tones Will Putney plugin. I have a preset I've made on there that's, like, my preset. That's, like, the Bogner model and the Diesel model. It has, like, a EQ and overdrive and all that stuff built into the plugin. So, I just used just the plugin. That's it, for the guitar tones. So, and I even left the stock strings on here, which I think once I swap the stock strings out, I'll like this thing even more. Because not that the strings are bad, just, I like a little thicker string. And these feel pretty thin. And drop tuning the top string to a drop D, it was a little floppy. So I think once I put some like 10 to 52s or something on here, it'll be right where I want it to be. So that is the Fesley. See what the model number is. It's got one of those, like, I call them the Ibanez names, right? Like, this is the Fesley FLP 350 39-inch electric guitar, right? So, not the most memorable name of all time, but this is a great guitar, especially for being under $200. Comes in a couple of different finishes. I got this kind of like tobacco-y sunburst one. It comes in a flat black one, which is like really mean looking. I almost got that one. It's super mean and like metal looking. And then it comes in like a shell pink one, which not my thing, but might be your thing. So check them out. Said you can buy them right off Amazon. They're in stock right now. Fesley guitars. So I hope you guys enjoy the demo. If you like this kind of content, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Leave me a comment. Let me know if there's any other like budget brand guitars that you think are worth checking out that aren't absolute booty, right? So thank you guys for watching the video, and I'll be back soon.